What is up? It's the beginning of January here in Montana, and that means it's ice fishing season time. I've been looking forward to the ice fishing season all year. It's really my favorite type of fishing. It's the type of fishing I do the most. You know, during the year I do a lot of foraging and hunting, and then at this time of the year when winter's here, that's when I'll get out and ice fish. So today I'm rigging up all my ice fishing gear because one of the local lakes here finally has some early ice. So tomorrow morning we're gonna head out there for the early bite. But in this video, I figured why not just record how I spool up these spinning reels for ice fishing and show you guys how I do it. So let's get to it. Gonna sit on the ice fishing bucket for this, you know, just to get into that mood because tomorrow we'll be out there on the ice. Luckily, I did get my first ice fishing chair this year for Christmas. I've always just, you know, sat in a bucket like this with one of those, what do you call them? Cushions, I guess, on there. It's not really much of a cushion, but those are nice usually, so you can save some space. Don't need to bring a chair, but you know, this year I'm going the comfy route. Anyway, I'm gonna show you how to tie up or rig up some of the reels with line for ice fishing, at least the way I do it. I did also get this new case this year so I can finally have my long rods protected. This is the longest rod I have. I believe it's a 28 incher. It's a True Grid, True Grid T38 medium, so 38 inch, sorry, 38 inch, not 28. 28 would be pretty short. And then for line, I'm going to use the Suffix 832 today. This is one that my buddies have recommended to me, and it's the first time I'm going to be using it, so I'm pretty excited to try it out. It's the Advanced Super line. It's the white color. Here you can see that. Hopefully it focuses on there. I'm going with white for the first time today. So here in Montana, you know, I've kind of figured out the trout, I figured out the burbot ice fishing the last few years, but this year the big goal are the walleyes and the perch. And we just have really clear waters here in the reservoirs. So everyone that I talked to said white or a light blue or even a clear line. I like braided, so I decided to go with the white and then just like a clear fluorocarbon leader. But I got my reel here using a Diva here, Regal. Pretty happy with this reel so far. And yeah, I love my True Grit rod. This has been definitely a great investment. I initially bought it for burbot fishing. You know, I've always had shorter, like 32 inch rods, but having a big one is kind of nice, honestly. So I usually just put the reel on the rod right away when I do this. Get it in there. And from there, I then add the line, and I'll show you in a sec here how that goes. We'll put that on, make sure that's nice and sturdy. I love ice fishing, guys. It's, I don't know, there's something about it. It's just when, you know, winter's rolled in and there isn't a ton to forage, there isn't really anything going on for the hunting season. That's when I like to get out, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Okay, so how I do this. First of all, let me just rearrange the camera a bit so you can get a better view of this. But basically what I'm going to be doing is just tying this line onto the reel here with a normal like overhand knot, like probably 3 times, making sure it's really nice and tight on that spool of the reel. But again, let me just rearrange the camera quick. All right, so I think this angle will be a bit better for you to see the whole process. What I forgot to mention, I'm using a 6-pound test line this year here for the walleyes and the perch. I think that'll be okay. Where I'm fishing, there aren't any like mogular walleyes. Make sure, of course, that you're opening the spool, otherwise this won't work. But all I'm doing now is I'm tying, like I mentioned, a normal overhand knot onto the spool. I a few times, making sure it's nice and tight. So I'm going to do like 3 knots on top of each other. There we go. We got 1, 2. And I know I usually hate when people do fishing videos and do the knots so far away from the camera, but I think you all know how to do a normal knot. This isn't anything fancy, just like an overhand knot. Then what I'm going to do, just for safe measures, some people stop here, but what I like to do for safe measures, I like to put a little bit of a sticker right on that knot, like where it touches the reel. Usually some duct tape would be the best. I don't have any here now, so I'm going to use just a little sticker that's on the spool here of the line. All right, I got my scissors just to cut off the little tag end that's coming off here. You can leave a little on since you're gonna put a sticker above it, but I just cut a little bit off, or most of it off I should say. If only I had sharp scissors. There we go. And now, like I mentioned, we're gonna tape this down with this little suffix sticker here. This one is actually like the perfect size. I almost feel like they make it this size for this purpose. I know a lot of people like to do this. They like to just sticker this down. So I'm just putting it on there. The sticker, making sure it is nice and flush. Not gonna get in the way. And then from there, now you can close your bail. And you can start putting that line on that spool. So one thing to consider though, a lot of this line has memory when it's on here. I'm actually not 100% sure if braided line does as much, but I know with like, you know, monofilament and fluorocarbon, there's going to be some memory. So what I've always done, what I learned, and this is how I've always done it, is to keep the line facing upwards. So not this side, not the bottom, but this side where the description is. I'm going to set down facing up to the ceiling on my table here or whatever surface you have. And that way that line can come off there and go onto that spool nicely. And it won't have like, it won't have the risk as much, have as much risk of like coming off your spool when you're casting it the first few times. And there's another trick I'm going to show you that I always like to do to kind of make sure your line is ready to cast the first time you go out in the water. But now we're just gonna, you know, just gonna prop the rod here, make sure we got some tension, and we're gonna start just spooling this up. I'm just kind of letting it go off the line. Sorry for the loud bangs here. So there we go. It's coming off pretty nicely, making sure I'm keeping some tension on there. And I'm gonna go until, you know, maybe I think like 1/16 of an inch. It's kind of where I'm gonna stop on that spool, on that reel. Like you want to have some a little bit of a gap there. You don't want to fill it up to the point where it's, you know, over the edge. If you were to draw a line there, you don't want to have it cross that line. Just don't want to go over the edge, I guess, because that risks the line just popping off and just getting knotted up and being a mess. So we're just gonna do this quickly. I'm super pumped this year, especially with this new line. Haven't switched the line. I usually switch the line like every 2-3 years. There's probably some people who say you should do it every year. This is just how I've always done it. But hey, I'd love to hear your opinions. I'm always down to learn more, so make sure to drop comments or drop a comment in the video below. I just want to hear how you guys rig up, especially for walleye. And especially if you're living out here in Montana, there's not a lot of info out here in fishing for walleyes in Montana. I haven't found too much on YouTube, honestly, where they go into good details. And I'm on some of the ice fishing forums, but people there tend to be pretty protective of their secrets, which I get, you know, it's part of the fishing. Hey, my God. I'm just gonna cut to when I'm done with this, and then I'll show you where we're at here. So as you can see here, I'm like right up to the edge here, but not so far that it's gonna pop off the first time you cast here. So yeah, this is how you do it. Now the next step is to take out this spool, and then I'll show you what to do with that. So put a finger on that line so it doesn't pop off while you're doing this. Unscrew the top of your spool here. Take that off. All right. Slide this off. There you go. Then make sure you got that little, you got this part here. It's meant to hold that line so it doesn't pop off. I just always kind of tuck that in there. Okay, now we got a nicely spooled up spool. I could probably even do a little bit more line, but I don't know, this is all I have right now, and I got to get ready for tomorrow, so we're just going to keep it on there how it is. I think it'll do fine with how much line I have on there now. Okay, what I have here now is a jar or glass with some warm water in here, and this is the trick, to just drop that spool in there for a few hours, maybe even, half a day or so, and that's just going to allow that line to settle a bit, some of that memory to come out. And I've just found that this makes it so that I can go out there and cast nicely right away. I don't have to wait for any line to break in too much. And I don't know why this works, so if you do, let me know in the comments below. This is just how I learned it and how I've always done it, and it seems to be working fine this way. This is just how I always do it. These two steps, it works for me. Let me know in the comments below. Again, like I mentioned, if you guys have any other ways to do this, I'd love to hear. All right, tomorrow we're gonna catch them all. Tight lines.